is part of that committee now, because we all know and recognize that if someone came in with a fat enough checkbook,
yes,
he could be swayed, and he left it open during this interview. That I'm not sure what outlet had it, but he specifically said that he wasn't against recreational marijuana necessarily. Even he was against the CRMLA recreational.
Well, and that just sets a stage, because we know there's a group of people out there that would like legalization to be done in a different way, a more business-centric way that would advantage their people. So Richardville's premise being that we stop the 2018 thing and then we do legalization, quote, air quotes, the right way in 2020.
Yep. And we can expect these people are going to come out of the woodwork in the next couple of months, and they're going to give these people some big bucks, and I expect we're going to see a robust media campaign against the proposal.
If my tablet hadn't flanked out, I would have told you about the new financial disclosures from both the Committee to Regulate Marijuana Like Alcohol and Healthy and Productive Michigan. Healthy and Productive Michigan having about $100 and some $1,000 remaining of the 257 that they had before, and Committee to Regulate Marijuana Like Alcohol having about 27,000 on hand. But what was most curious is Randy Richardville is quoted in this particular article as saying, the fundraising is about to begin. All those people out there, if you see my name on your caller ID, you should take the call. Now, I'm not sure that I, first of all, would ever want to take a call from former Senate Majority Leader Randy Richardville, who I had a very famous spat with during the negotiations for the Prairie Plant System Pot for Pharmacies bill. But secondly...
Best committee hearing of all time, by the way.
Expand on that a little bit. Even though Eric Gunnels is in the queue, I think he's going to have to wait. But please tell us a little bit about it. I remember that, and I want you to...
So the upshot of the whole thing is they originally had introduced this program in 2014. It didn't pass the legislature at that time. They just reintroduced the whole same thing in 2015. However, in the interim, a whole lot of stuff had been added about synthetic marijuana and synthetic cannabinoids, because at that time K2 and Spice was running on the streets. And they had omitted all of that in the new version because they were just derelict in their job. They didn't update the law when they entered the new bill. So it took quite a bit of wrangling for us to determine from legislative services that the law would still be in place and we wouldn't be removing any of that language. But for a time, we thought that that's what they were trying to do. So in the committee, I was tasked by our community to hassle Richardville, and that's what I did. I had a whole listing of all the language that was omitted from the bill, and I very dramatically lifted it out and let it drop, and it unfolded like an accordion. And Richardville became so enraged with me that he, in the middle of the hearing, gavelled the whole thing down and said, "I'm going to the restroom," stood up and started to leave. From the audience, Matthew Abel, attorney-at-law, says, "Chicken!"
He did.
And Richardville turned at the door and said, "Come outside and say that to me." kind of fronted him off. And that was it. All of the people, Sergeant-at-Arms, the other committee members, all of the secretary, the clerk, Jamie was there, they were all like, "What just happened? We've never just interrupted the middle of a meeting and had him get up and walk out before." So, and I was allowed to continue my testimony when he came back in, and so Richardville was red in the face. He was really unhappy.
Because he promised not to take that out, and he did?
No, because he couldn't understand what I was telling him that he had done, and he really didn't like he really wanted the Prairie Plant Systems program to go into place, and we did not.
Yeah, we
did not. So I was an effective obstacle for him to overcome, and he couldn't do it. So,
Senate Bill 660 got passed into law ultimately.
It did.
Conditioned upon. It references, and I think it's a good argument that
the legislature can move shit through really fast when they want to.
Sure,
that's what it proves.
Do you get paid enough money to do anything?
Yeah.
I thought it was a great scam they pulled because it did exactly what their money investors wanted them to do. They were totally in their pockets, and they didn't really overcommit themselves because it's kind of like, here's the law you want, but condition on federal law changing, and we can't do anything about it.
Yep, and that what Michael's alluding to is the bill would have allowed pharmacies like Rite Aid and Walmart to sell cannabis and would have required them to sell cannabis under that program, the Pharmaceutical Grade Marijuana Act. But at the last minute, an adjustment was made that would trigger all of that program and hinge it on the federal change in scheduling of cannabis off the Schedule I status, which we all know is probably not likely to happen anytime soon.
Which is laughable because once it's rescheduled, of course they would be able to carry it.
and the other thing is, prior to it being rescheduled, of course, they could not carry it because they're federally licensed pharmacists who would lose their federal license if they did it.
Right.
So it was a nonsense bullshit program.
Yeah.
And they flew all of those people out to Ontario, wined them and dined them to that whole prairie plant thing, showed them their big production system and everything else in order to influence these legislators and important VIPs, which I just thought was the ultimate corruption, but everyone else seemed to think it was business as usual. So,
what an ugly time! What an ugly display of politics at its worst.
It was great. It was. I'm not kidding when I say I had the best time at that committee hearing. That committee hearing showed what can happen, even though they voted against us. It
shows about all that can be done is you can embarrass them, and if you can get a rise out of them like that, you have a little smile. And, and it makes them more motivated to want to fucking bury you anyways.
Listen, it certainly made it more notable for the news media that was there because there was a ton of media.
Sure did.
And that's all you can do, really. Draw their attention to it because it's the same thing with the court. If you throw a camera in there, totally different behavior. Let's just talk about how awful we believe the legislature is. Terrible in all regards. I can't even say one nice thing about any legislatures at all. And now's a good time to invite on a candidate that wants to be a legislature. His name's Eric Gunnels. He thinks, as I listen to him texting me, that whatever he's got to say is more important than what we're talking about. And he's getting anxious on the phone. But let's get him on here because let's hear what he's got to say. He's a candidate. He's running for
He's not in the
whatever.
queue. He's
what
not,
do you mean?
He's not in there.
He says he is. He doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know what to do.
That's right.
Oh, okay.
Have your staff call in, Eric. That's what politicians do.
Eric's called him.
We got to
before.
pay him to come on, I think. Hold on.
We're just joking.
Oh, he needs a number to call. Jim.
Eric is a great guy. He's running
Eric,
for 40.
the number is 224-803-3098.
He's upset he's only going to get 30 seconds. I'm going to give him 2 minutes. That's a lot, isn't it?
2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Hey, that's all we get.
Starting
We
now.
get 2 minutes to speak when we go to committee session. So yeah.
Here's breaking news. Cohen claims Trump knew in advance of the 2016 Trump Tower meeting.
We knew he lied about that. I'm glad that.
Uh-oh.
But he's Teflon Don. Nothing sticks to this guy.
No, this is it. It's over. When your lawyer's ratting on you, it's over. When your lawyer's chosen to breach the attorney-client privilege to get out of it,
Wow.
and he's never going to lawyer again, it's to save his own ass, it's over. That's what I say.
You think seriously he has to sacrifice his right
course.
to practice?
He'll never practice law again. It's over. I mean,
what happens.
you can't get caught up in this shit and... I mean, maybe, I don't know, it's probably Michigan, I don't know, you know.
By New York
And
standards, he's
they
probably a stand-up guy.
They've subpoenaed
That was a
Trump's
joke.
accountant,
They subpoenaed Trump's what?
Accountant.
chief financial officer.
Oh.
Well, if you can't get to the guy's tax records, I guess get to his accountant and see if he'll squeal.
Yep. You put enough pressure on somebody.
Hey, Julian Assange is being forced out of his isolation, too. He's no longer going to be allowed to have sanctuary in the UK, and they're going to turn him over, and he's going to be sent to
Where?
the United States to be
You're
prosecuted.
Ecuador's backing down.
Ecuador's backing who?
Backing down.
Backing down. They've received a lot of pressure to let him go. He's been essentially under house arrest for the last 10 months. He's been in the embassy for years. But yeah, they've really just jammed him down. They stopped him from communicating to the outside world, so that's got to really suck. That's Julian Assange WikiLeaks, by the way, if those of you don't know. And
Hello?
E.G.
Oh, there he is.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Not much, Eric. You tell us.
Hello?
Tell us. You tell us. We're
What's
listening.
going on, buddy?
Eric Gunnels.
Things are going great, guys. The campaign is going great. I really feel confident in this race. I feel that we're going to deliver a victory come August 7th, but that just means we still need everyone to get out and vote. And the primary election is only a few days away, so it's an important election, and we need to follow through.
Well, Eric, the 48's an important district, but are you also supporting some candidates from some surrounding areas that you could possibly name and give an endorsement to?
Yes, I am. There's a few other candidates around the county. Ryan LaRee for county commissioner. I believe it's the 8th district. There's Kenneth Andrews, county commissioner. I forget which district. It's up in the Mount Morris area. There's Drew Shapiro, and he's a Republican from the 51st district. And I know that might scare a lot of people because he's a Republican. But I did a talk with him today on a talk show on All Points TV, and we talked about a lot of bipartisan issues that he and I can agree on and work with each other on to get accomplished in Lansing. And many of the things that he agrees with was forfeiture law reform. If the voters legalize marijuana, to pass legislation to immediately release everyone out of jail and expunge records of everyone with convictions. So that's very progressive and forward thinking for a Republican. And since the 51st district, that's the southern district of Genesee County, has always supported a Republican candidate, so it's not likely that a Democrat would take that seat. So since it's going to be a Republican anyway, let's support a candidate who's at least progressive and not an establishment.
So, Eric, you were just recently on the Young Turks, too. Tell us what it was like to be on that international, the world's most watched news podcast.
It was a great honor. It was a privilege. Certainly helped to get the word out. I was able to plug the, how the governor's race and the Attorney General, Dana Nessel, all support cannabis legalization as a platform. Plus, able to plug the fact that Michigan's going to have marijuana legalization on the ballot in November. So that was it was a great multi-plug, not only for my own campaign for state rep, but also for everyone, for the whole state. And I mean, it was a really great plug. So it was a great time being on there.
They ask if you're a patient or caregiver and just a cannabis yourself as a candidate? I'm not asking you to answer that.
Yes.
Did they ask you?
Yeah, I think I did somewhere in the lines mention that I was a caregiver. Yeah, candidate.
Okay, that's interesting. It's not normal.
Yep.
I mean, it's not.
Yep, and yeah.
Usual.
Well, it's certainly. Well, I mean, when I win this election, I think we can all say that I would be the first candidate ever, or the first licensed caregiver ever to be elected to a state representative position.
You know, there's a possibility you could maybe even enact a law to get yourself a trophy for that too, if something like that happens. That's something like legislatures do quite often.
We'll pitch in and get you a trophy.
I'll help you. I'll
Thanks.
We'll be like the people that support you
Jim.
and show up at the public hearings.
Yeah, we'll design it so special you'll really want to display it on your congressional.
Put some hearts on there.
I'm just kidding.
Nice. It'll be make like a counter, like a paperweight for my desk. Yeah.
That'd be good.
Also, did you guys hear about the recent news that my township voted? I got my township board to vote with me on a motion to put my entire police department to a vote of the people of my township in the November election.
I saw that.
Wow. I was there for that.
That's good because your police department seems to have some trouble.
And it's not about what we want a police department. What you said was they have to vote on if we're going to keep a police department or not. I mean, that's a like a Roman gladiatorial thumbs down thing.
Well, Eric, what you just said doesn't make sense, and you need to explain it more. So let me ask a couple of questions. One,
well, you turn down the police department, Eric.
You suggest that there's a reason for you have a police department now, right? A Thetford Township Police Department that is budgeted and paid for by you and your cronies at that legislative body, whatever you call it, right? And you vote on that, and you
I'm not going to answer that.
And the issue came up, but you raised the issue of whether or not that should continue or not. Maybe those funds should be spent elsewhere, like maybe for you and your cronies, for example. Your salaries could be increased. You get rid of the police department in general.
No, not at all.
I'm just kidding.
Not at all. No increase in salaries. But in fact, if the voters did vote no, then
how did you get to this point? How did you get to this point where you think that you can say, let's get rid of the police? What happened? Is it money? Is it distrust? Is it that...
It's distrust because the police chief's been very high profile with his purchase of military equipment and some missing money, which
but it's
magically found recently.
Right.
And it's
that is... Yeah, Rick's got some valid points there. There's some truth to that. The other issue, though,
is that chief of police still in play, or has he been let go?
He's still in play.
Huh.
Is there a criminal investigation going on about it, if you can speak about that and disclose that and
yes, there is
some kind of confidence?
No, there is. That's public knowledge that there's a criminal investigation.
By who?
undergoing currently by the Genesee County Sheriff's Department